I will be 35 in the first month of the new year. Still single. No husband. For some people, that sentence sounds like a confession. For others, a tragedy. For a few, a quiet rebellion. For me, it is simply the truth. Every birthday for the past 10 years has come with the same background music, whispers dressed as concern. You're so beautiful. Why are you still single? Don't wait too long. Career is fine, but a woman needs a home. There must be someone. I used to smile politely. I used to laugh it off. Sometimes, I used to go home and cry. Not because I wanted a husband desperately, but because I felt like I was failing at a race I never consciously signed up for. My name is Ariba. I live in a modest apartment on the third floor of a busy city building. It isn't luxurious, but it's mine. The balcony faces west, and every evening the sky melts into orange and gold. I water my plants there after work. Basil, mint, 2 stubborn rose bushes that refuse to bloom consistently, like love, I suppose. I have a good job. I lead a small design team at a marketing firm. I pay my bills. I take care of my parents when they need me. I buy my own birthday cakes. And yet, every time someone introduces me, it goes like this. This is Ariba. She's 34, and still not married. As if, not married, is my most defining achievement. When I was 25, I imagined my life differently. I thought by 30, I would have 2 children, a warm kitchen filled with the smell of cardamom tea, and a husband who would ask about my day. At 26, I got engaged. He was kind, stable, approved by everyone. On paper, he was perfect. But sometimes, perfection feels like a cage. He didn't like that I worked late. He didn't like that I laughed loudly. He didn't like that I had male colleagues. He didn't like that I had opinions. After marriage, you won't need to work so much, he would say. After marriage, you should focus on family. After marriage, things will change. The word after began to scare me. After sounded like the end of who I was. I broke the engagement 6 months later. The backlash was brutal. Relatives called me stubborn, dramatic, ungrateful. Good men are rare, my aunt had said. You will regret this. Maybe she was right. Maybe good men are rare. But I believe good lives are rarer when you betray yourself. 30 came quietly. No husband, no children. But there was something else. Freedom. Not the loud, rebellious kind. A softer freedom. The ability to make choices without negotiation. To travel alone. To sit in silence without explaining it. To buy a bookshelf instead of a dining table because I wanted more stories in my home than chairs. I watched my friends marry. I attended weddings in shimmering clothes, clapped for their happiness, held their babies, and drove back to my apartment alone. Some nights, the silence felt peaceful. Some nights, it felt heavy. Loneliness is not constant. It visits. It leaves. It returns without warning. Last winter, I met someone. His name was Hamza. He was a consultant hired for a short-term project at my company. Calm voice. Thoughtful eyes. The kind of man who listened fully before speaking. We started with coffee breaks. He asked me about my work, not in a polite, uninterested way, but with curiosity. You built this campaign strategy? He asked once, impressed. Yes, I said, trying not to smile too widely. That's powerful, powerful. No one had ever described my work like that. We talked about books, about cities we wanted to visit, about fear. One evening, after everyone had left, we stood by the office window watching the rain. You ever think about marriage? He asked softly. I laughed. You mean besides every single day when someone reminds me I'm 34? He smiled. No, I mean, for yourself. I paused. Yes, I said honestly. But I don't want marriage just to avoid being alone. He nodded. Neither do I. For the first time in years, hope didn't feel foolish. We began meeting outside work. Nothing dramatic. Just dinners, walks, conversations that stretched for hours. He told me about his failed relationship from years ago. I told him about my broken engagement. I don't want to disappear inside someone else's expectations, I said one night. You shouldn't, he replied. Would you be okay with a wife who prioritizes her career? He didn't hesitate. I would want a partner, not a shadow. My heart softened. Maybe this is what it feels like, I thought. Maybe this is it. But life rarely moves in straight lines. 2 months later, he received an offer to relocate abroad permanently. It's a huge opportunity, he said, conflicted. I know, I whispered. He looked at me. Would you move? The question hung between us. Would I leave my parents? My job, my carefully built independence, my balcony plants? I don't know, I admitted. He sighed. I don't want you to feel forced. And I don't want to build resentment, I replied. We both understood the unspoken truth. Love is not only about connection. It is about timing, direction, sacrifice. He left 3 weeks later. We didn't fight. We didn't blame each other. We just stood at the airport, holding hands longer than necessary. Maybe in another version of life, he said gently. Maybe, I replied. I drove home alone that night. The city lights blurred through my tears. 34. Still single. Again. December arrived faster than expected. Invitations to New Year's gatherings filled my phone. I declined most of them. Instead, I planned something different. On the last evening of the year, I cleaned my apartment thoroughly. I cooked my favorite meal. I bought myself a small chocolate cake with white frosting. At 11:58 p.m., I stood on my balcony. Fireworks began to crackle in the distance. I will be 35 in the first month, I whispered to the night. Still single, no husband, but also, still strong, still whole, still becoming. The clock struck midnight. I closed my eyes and made a wish. Not for a husband, not for a wedding, but for courage. The truth is, being single at 35 is not a curse. It is not a badge of failure. It is not proof of being unwanted. Sometimes, it is proof of standards, of self-respect, of refusing to shrink. I have learned that marriage is not a rescue mission. It is not an achievement unlocked at a certain age. It is not a measure of worth. I have seen married women feel deeply alone. I have seen single women glow with fulfillment. Happiness does not wear a ring. A week after New Year's, something unexpected happened. I received a call from a university inviting me to speak at a seminar about women in leadership. Apparently, one of my campaigns had gained attention. The day of the event, I stood in front of a hall filled with young girls, some barely 20. I spoke about ambition, about doubt, about choosing yourself. During the Q&A session, a girl raised her hand. Ma'am, she asked shyly, are you married? A ripple of laughter moved through the hall. I smiled. No, I said calmly. I'm not. She looked curious. Does it bother you? I paused. It used to, I admitted. Because I thought my life was incomplete without it. But now I know, completeness comes from within. Marriage can add to your life. It shouldn't be the thing that defines it. The hall went quiet. I saw something shift in their eyes. Maybe relief. Maybe permission. That night, back home, I stood again on my balcony. The roses had finally bloomed. Soft pink. Fragile. Persistent. I touched one gently. I may not have a husband. I may not have children. I may still feel lonely on certain nights. But I have built a life that reflects me. I have friends who call at midnight. Parents who trust me. Colleagues who respect me. Dreams that are still unfolding. And maybe one day, love will arrive again, unexpected, steady, aligned. Or maybe it won't. Either way, I refuse to see myself as lacking. I will be 35 in the first month. Still single, no husband, but I am not waiting in a corner of life. I am living it, fully, bravely, on my own terms. And if love finds me, it will find a woman who chose herself first.